Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Crypto Hipster Podcast. This is your host, Jamil Hassan, the Crypto Hipster, where I interview founders, entrepreneurs, executives, thought leaders, musicians, artists, you name it, around the world in crypto and blockchain. And today I have an absolutely amazing guest. I'm looking forward to this interview. Pedro Isaac Lopez, who is a Chief Growth Officer at Thor Wallet. Pedro, welcome to the show.
Jamil, thank you. Happy to be here.
Pleasure to have you here. So let's kick things off, and I'll ask you the first question is this, what is your background, and is it a logical background for what you're doing now?
Yes, so let's kick it off. So yeah, I'm an industrial engineer. That's my background. I also have a master's in management from a university in Germany called European Business School, and an MBA with focus on finance and strategy from the University of Pittsburgh. I'm also a self-taught Python developer, and I feel this kind of fits well to what I'm doing now because I'm deeply interested in both finance and technology. And that's why when I found blockchain, I kind of was enamored from the concept and the entire mesh of both finance and technology.
And awesome. So you're in Europe. You're in Freienbach, which I guess Germany.
No, it's right now it's Switzerland.
Switzerland, and you went to the University of Pittsburgh. So I'm just interested to out of all the colleges in Europe and why you came to Pittsburgh, and just interested.
So I came to Pittsburgh as part of one of the opportunities. So I'm originally from Mexico. So I studied my undergrad in Mexico City. Then after that, I decided I wanted to do a master's in management, and I found a good opportunity in Germany at the University European Business School. It was a one-year program, and then while doing the program, they offered me this opportunity to do a dual degree. They have a partnership with the University of Pittsburgh, and they offered me if I wanted to join, and I agreed. I think it was a great opportunity. Pretty much on-hands learning, so it was great. And actually, that's where there was a big change on where I was focusing, because it was until then it was more towards engineering and general management, but in the MBA it was a strong focus that I chose on finance, and that kind of led me eventually to crypto.
That's more logical than you think. I wish I had an engineering background. I went to Virginia Tech, an engineering school, but I studied liberal arts. So so I want to find out, leverage your technical prowess and talk about Thor, Dex, and Wallet, and what they're all about, and what makes them great, and what makes them enjoyable for you to work on.
I think there are two parts to this. So one is we as company, we are Thor Wallet Dex, based in Switzerland, and the other part is Torchain. So Torchain is layer one protocol that enables cross-chain swaps. And I think it's better to initially start with Torchain because that's the technology that we have, that we're using to build Thor Wallet. So yeah, Torchain is a layer one protocol, and native swapping means no grab assets. So if you want to swap Bitcoin for Ethereum, normally in the past, or what is more common, is just using centralized exchanges. So they have a database, and then they do the internal accounting, and that's it. But there's no real transfer of assets. Then later on, there was transfer of assets, but via grab assets. So for example, WBTC, so that they can bring Bitcoin to smart contracts on Ethereum networks or any EVM compatible. But then you still have the challenge, which is all these grab assets means that there is either a bridge, there's a multi-sig wallet that controls these assets. So then there's a third-party risk. With the introduction of Torchain, this changed because Torchain is a protocol that allows you to send native tokens. So you have Bitcoin on your wallet, then it gets sent out, and then you receive native Ethereum to your wallet. So there's no wrapping, And it's an open source project, and it's a decentralized community that is pushing the project forward. So a little bit of a background on Torchin. And from our side, we are a company, Tor Wallet X. We are one of the projects in the ecosystem, but we also do other things beyond Torchin. But kind of our core is the functionality that Torchin is providing. So we have a suite of products, both we have a web application and we also have a mobile version where users can come and do cross-chain swaps, provide their assets to receive passive income, and they can also use the latest savers feature from Torchain, which allows them to have exposure to single assets. So in a nutshell, we're a non-custodial wallet, and we are trying to bring DeFi to the masses. So our goal is to have all the services that a person needs, but based on DeFi, which is open, fair, and transparent.
Great. So DeFi, becoming your own bank, when I think of DeFi, I think of becoming your own bank. And I think that becoming your own bank requires really a paradigm shift or a fundamental change in the way you view things. And the first is in technology, right? So how do you help your clients and community embrace DeFi, right, to bring it to the masses? And then what are the technology and financial barriers, that you help them with and help them overcome?
Yes, indeed, going from this shift to being your own bank is a big change. So in terms of technology, the first thing we need to recognize is that users need to learn how to use blockchain wallets, which so far had not been so friendly yet. However, we have seen that in the last few months, there have been strong improvements, and this is change that is happening at a fast pace. Um, on the other hand, we have the user expectations. So they are used to using online banks or fintech apps that are very friendly. So that is kind of a mismatch on where we are right now in the technology in terms of the user experience and where we want to go. So one of our key goals in Tor Wallet is to try to bring that experience as close as possible to that of fintech. So being simplicity and user friendliness the key aspects of what we want to have in our mobile application. Um, there's still a lot of work to do to get there, as a lot of the infrastructure is being built in parallel. So one example of this is this whole part of multi-chain and the different layer ones and layer twos was something that came in the last year and a half. So the infrastructure that was there, like MetaMask and so on, has to adapt to these new changes. And this is something that as time goes by, we will have better interfaces to make it easier. Um, from Tor Wallet perspective, we are trying to reach the masses, as I mentioned. So we're trying to focus heavily on making the interface simple and intuitive. So this is what we're trying to, that we call like bringing the technology to the background. So making it as easy to use that people just use it and then kind of they're not so aware that they're using blockchain. And a nice example of this is related to this multi-chain. So with our wallet, because we have everything on the background, you don't need to change from one chain to another in order to do cross-chain transactions or to do multi-chain transactions. Everything is handled for you. You just see your assets, and then you can do these cross-chain transactions. Whereas, for example, if you go to a web browser, then you still have to go through the hassle of, if you want to go from one chain to another, you still have to change, and it's not such a nice experience. So this is something that we can do for our users and take that from that experience, we take the heavy lifting and then we put it in the background, and the user just tries goes ahead and doing their normal transactions, but without knowing or without this hassle. And lastly, another important aspect when it comes to barriers is what it is between how to come to crypto. So the link between fiat and crypto. And this is a key reason why some users end up stuck in centralized exchanges, because so until now it's still been hard to move to crypto. So bringing your dollars, bring your euros, and how do you go to crypto? So that's something we have been working on to bridge that gap. And we have partnered with a Swiss company called Mont Pelerin to offer on and off ramp services. So this is something that not only us but other companies in DeFi need to embrace, so that because it's a been siloed. So once you have crypto, then you can do everything you want, but it's a challenge for a lot of people. So how do I start? So I have USD. How do I come in? So that's one of the other key things that we're doing, which is allowing people to come with fiat so that they can start exploring the world of DeFi.
Nice. Okay. So that's the technical side, right? So the second part of the shift, right, for people to go into DeFi is really mental and behavioral, right? So like yesterday there was an announcement by the DOJ and they here in the US, and they stopped a Chinese national in Russia, shut down a very tiny exchange, but the market fell back 7%, right? So what needs to happen, like, so that tells me that people aren't fully committed or have a full conviction yet. So what needs to really happen for people to feel comfortable using crypto?
Yeah, I think this is a key challenge as the industry that we need to overcome. First of all, customers are not used to being asked to keep their assets in self-custody. So there's a important learning curve in doing that. So when you go to DeFi, you need to learn how to manage your assets, but also how to keep them safe. This is a highly sensitive process, and then mistakes can be costly. So that's why, sometimes there's this news, this person lost money and things like that. So that's a key challenge, and that will be with time overcome with better interfaces. And then we will have better solutions. I think the other part of this is time. So I think we still have to think this is a relatively new technology. So blockchain itself with having first Bitcoin, but itself DeFi is something that we had only since 2020. So it's kind of relatively new. The protocols are evolving, and as the time goes by, as people start to become more and more confident on putting their assets into the protocols. We also have done tests. Something have failed, but from the time that DeFi started to now, it's been kind of a huge step forward. And I think this is just something that will come with time. So both retail and institutional are starting to see an adoption. So we have seen a phase of starting adoption with centralized exchanges. Now that also is moving towards decentralized exchanges, going more into the direction of decentralization, self-custody. And I think as time continues, there's going to be more adoption. So institutions starting to say, okay, Bitcoin is relatively safe, of course, with the understanding this is a new technology. And I think there will be more and more assets that will start to come to this safer zone where people are more comfortable participating. And it doesn't need to be only an investment angle, right? So, for example, the loans that you can get now through DeFi, which require no ID or KYC. So this is a game changer, and I'm talking about, like, there's many people who have no passport, have no IDs. There might be refugees, asylum seekers, and now they have access to, if they have collateral, they can just get a loan and then maybe use it for their cash necessities and then pay back the loan. So these are big changes that are happening, but it's gonna take some time. I think the parallel to the internet is very similar with crypto, and it's gonna take us a few years until people are, feel completely comfortable using crypto, and when it gets a bit more user friendly as well.
I can see that. Yeah, it took. I think I was using the internet back in 2006. No, 1996. I'm dating myself here. 1996, and then it wasn't until 2005 that really my company started using it widely. So yeah, so I can see that. And one of the things that, like, if I take like a month or two off, and I took a lot of the fall off, is I go from knowing a lot of what's going on in the area to not knowing like much at all because things move so fast. So I wanted to find out, from you, what is the current global state of DeFi and governance too, and then with the contagion that happened this past summer, where's the DeFi industry at right now, and what do you see going on, and what do you see as the future of it?
Yes, so I have a bit of a contrarian take on this because I feel 2022 was a great year for DeFi. Yes, prices went down significantly, but in terms of the protocols themselves, they performed very well. So they weathered the storm of a massive bear market. We saw like the stark differences between DeFi and centralized options, where like all these lending options, all these centralized options that were basically going bankrupt. And on the other hand, we saw DeFi working as expected. So over collateralized, none of the DeFi protocols went down, and they just kind of worked as expected. So if anything, I feel that this bear market has accentuated the benefits of DeFi, so decentralization, openness, over collateralization, and in a way, it has shown that real economic value has been created for the first time. So before we had Bitcoin, but the first applications that generate real economic value like Aave, Compound, or Uniswap were created recently from the recent DeFi wave. And I feel, yeah, when with where we are right now is we kind of wash out a lot of the bad actors, also a lot of the bad setups. So companies that were under collateralized, selling, offering services that were loans that had no collateral. All of this has been wiped out, and from an investor perspective, this is of course quite bad. Like people lost money, and that's terrible. But from the technology perspective, like what has left and what has weathered the storm is companies, or are companies that are quite strong, and are technologies also that are showing their worth. So I feel that in that regard, DeFi will come back stronger, and volumes overall are down, but we still see economic value creation on these platforms of lending and borrowing, and I think there's going to be more applications that right now we don't have, but that will come and will become quite big. The other part of that, I think, is when we talk about trust, I feel it's in one way trust has been a bit damaged because of all these negative events that have happened, collapse of Luna, the collapse of FTX, and so on. But technology, it's still like it still is there. So all these things were either bad actors, or in the case of Luna, just people didn't care to read how it worked, and then bad things happen. But I think trust will be regained. That's some partly on our side of people that are working in crypto companies, building stuff to regain that trust. But at the same time, many other things are showing, hey, uh, this is something that has proven itself to stay and to work in very strong conditions and very difficult conditions. So I think DeFi is looking brighter, and also costs are going down. So we have a lot of competition now. So we will see, and what is the best tech will win.
I agree with you. I'm looking forward to seeing what that is. So, um, let me talk to you about. I think I've interviewed maybe like 200 and some people. So, and I've only had one conversation about logistics. And you earned a certification in logistics, right? And not a lot of people talk about the future of blockchain in that area. So, what do you see as the future of blockchain in logistics? And how do you think we can build improvements with it into the metaverse and NFTs?
I think the topic of blockchain in logistics initially, or somewhere around 2018, it was a bit overhyped. So it was, of course, in theory, there are some interesting applications, right? So you can verify the origin of goods, check the supply chain, did it pass correctly from here to and then the next stage and so on. However, the connection between the digital world and the physical world remains a challenge. So that's something that we still need to overcome. I'm highly positive on the impact that blockchain will have on logistics. I just feel that we are a few breakouts away, tech-wise, breakthroughs away, in order to be able to fully exploit its potential. So right now, I think it's more on what can we potentially do, but the challenge still is the disconnect between the digital world and then the physical goods and the physical world. So I think it is still work in progress, and we are a bit far in that area at the moment. In terms of metaverse and NFTs, I think with regards to supply chain, there might be some applications, but I see or currently the market has been focusing on other areas, right? So art and some because that's was the immediate adoption. But there is definitely some that is linked to that. So having certificates of origin for goods, that's something that definitely has been planned. But again, how do you prove, that that the digital connects? So yeah, I'm looking forward to see, some companies bring some breakaways in that. But so far, I think there are other industries that are going to be disrupted earlier by blockchain than logistics.
That makes sense. Yeah. So, but you said there's still a divide between the real world and the digital world. Lately, I've been having a different contrarian view on what is actually the real world. Because the real world to a lot of people is a digital world. So, what's that gap, and how do we close it?
Well, in the specific example of logistics, it's more on the real world, meaning like the physical assets, right? So how do you, let's say you bring tomatoes, so then you want to use blockchain to mark the progress of the supply chain, or either the supply chain or even the transportation. So did they came from the origin, were they approved, and then all this paperwork can be automated and potentially be put in a immutable blockchain where people can go and check, oh, this has a certificate, the stamp of that it passed correctly and so on. But I feel there's a similar challenge in this area as there is the challenge on blockchain and real estate. So the idea is interesting, but there's still some challenges related to that, right? So you buy let's say you have a house, you want to buy a house, then you buy 1/10 of a house through either an NFT or some token. But then how do you enforce that? How do you make the connection between, oh, I have ownership on this, and then there's this physical good? I think that's where we still need to bridge that gap. Part of that will come with, legislation saying, okay, these certificates correspond to an asset, and then this can be deemed as a ownership of this asset. And the other part is just going to be technology that right now we don't have to link and avoid saying, okay, these tomatoes have this NFT that say they are coming from this place, but how do you make sure that somebody didn't change them physically for another one that they had in the boat or stuff like that? So those are challenges that we're, as far as I know, there's no good solution at the moment. But I've seen many people that are working on that. So I'm hoping that we have some breakthroughs there.
Yeah, so do I. And I think that would launch like next market perhaps. But looking ahead, right? Looking ahead, I want to talk about your Thor roadmap, right? Like, where are you now? Where are you headed? And what's your 2023 outlook? And then I'll have follow up from there.
Yeah. So For us, since the last year's, bear markets are for building, so we have been focusing on building. We have some good metrics that we have reached. So we're recently relatively as a young company, so we started going with our product in November of 2021. So since inception till now, we have reached 140 million in total volume through our products. And recently, we were included in the top 50 companies in the CVC Crypto Valley Association. So it's a association here in Switzerland for blockchain related companies. So we're pretty happy to be included in the top 50 among 1,150 or something like that companies. And also very recently there was this new product that was launched, so Torchain Savers. So these are basically sort of like saving accounts, so you can get exposure to you can get interest on your assets. But normally when it comes to DeFi, this exposure was you had two assets to get exposed to because of you were a provider to the liquidity. With this new product, people can get exposure to only one asset, so you can get yield on your Bitcoin without having to have exposure to, in this case, Rune, which is the token of the Torchain network. So that's pretty interesting, and it has been very well adopted. So it's only been live for around 2 months, and it has collected. It has passed the 15 million assets in value locked for the entire Torchain layer, and from those, around 1.9 million have come through our application. So our users coming to use Savers via their wallet. So we're pretty excited about that. It's something that people are very, very excited, and especially it's infrastructure for layer one. So it's Bitcoin infrastructure. From the 15 million, 10 are Bitcoin. So people are really excited about being able to get yield on their Bitcoin, and more importantly, this yield comes from the activity that happens on the network. So that's pretty interesting to see. And from our side, yeah, we had some good results in terms of our app, iOS and Android. We have more than 38,000 downloads since we started, and we are pretty excited for what's coming next. We're doing a complete redesign of the mobile app, so all the design will be revamped with the new features, better functionality. Just in November, we did also an important overhaul where we reduced the loading time significantly, and the next step is having a better, more responsive design. Besides that, we also have in our pipeline the integration of lending, which is the next product of Torchain. So we're pretty excited about that too. So kind of getting the entire portfolio of services that the person needs. So sending, receiving, getting interest, getting loans, all DeFi, all non-custodial, and self. We have no way to view their assets or control them. So we're just a provider of an interface. So that's pretty neat. And the last thing we're going to be focusing also is on creating an affiliate feature. So we do generate revenue. So we have generated around $240,000 in revenue for Thor Wallet X, which comes from commissions we take on swaps and liquidity providing. But we want to share that revenue as well with our users, and just spread the word. Make it if you want, you can share a link, and then if people use that link to do swaps and liquidity pooling, they will get part of that revenue that we generate. So those are the things, kind of the three most important things we have in the pipeline for now. But as you mentioned, things move fast in crypto, so we still are looking forward to see what are next for the second part of the year.
Yeah, and you said bear markets are for building, so I just want to get your sense on how long do you think we're going to remain in this bear market? And when the building time is done, and when we're gonna, like, I want to be one of your customers, right? It sounds pretty great what you're doing and giving back to the community and customer base. That's awesome. But where do you think, when do you think this crypto winter is going to end, and bull time is going to start again?
Yeah, so of course, no financial advice here, but I think the market has been pretty cyclical in terms of it has stick very closely to the Bitcoin cycle. So every 4 years there's a bust, boom, and so on. So we take that as a guideline for our planning, but of course that doesn't mean on this specific date things will change. But we looking back on the previous bull run and then bear market. So we had the bull run in 2017, then we had a terrible year in 2018, and then 2019 was already a year where things started to slightly become better, and we had an increase in prices due to Facebook potentially wanted to coming into blockchain, was later blocked. But if things are a bit in parallel to that, this year, middle of the year, it's something where potentially things are going to be starting to become better, but it's something that we cannot know for sure. But from our view, the worst is gone. We still have to see what happens with the general economy, right? There were some worries of recession coming from the US and Europe because of the super high inflation rates, and then central banks trying working to mitigate those. But it seems that the recovery is happening. There was a small rally happening, or quite decent rally happening, right, from 16,500 something to now 2021. But I think there's still going to be time for us to dedicate and build. I feel the next 10 to 12 months are going to be good time to build, and if there's some price increases, that's great. But we are preparing for 2024.
Yeah, that's my target too. So that makes sense. I'm glad I asked you. So, this has been a great conversation. I really enjoyed talking to you. This is,
Likewise.
thanks for your insights. I have one last question though, and it's a really easy one. How can people find out more information about you, about Thor Chain, about your decks, about what you guys do? How can they do any of that?
Yeah, so they can go to forwallet.org. So that's our website. Or they can also follow us on Twitter, Telegram. We're pretty active there. Or they can join our Discord and stay tuned to all the news and information that we are posting, and the newest features that are coming to our mobile applications.
Awesome. Thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you, and great talking to you. Have a nice day.